Hi, my name's Starsky and welcome to From the Studio on Clubbing TV. And in this episode, I'm going to be taking a look at something that's become a bit of a modern classic. It's small, it's ugly, it doesn't sound fantastic, but it's the absolutely fabulous Korg MicroKORG. And I know what a lot of you are probably already thinking. Why on earth is he showing something that's that old, that ugly, and doesn't sound that good? Well, there's a reason why Korg is still making these. They started in 2002. They did the revision back in 2016 or 17, I think it was, to the MicroKORG S, which has got speakers and a bit more memory. But it's still selling. It's a great synth, and you see it all over the place. But why is that? Why are people still buying this? There are things that are better looking, there are things with more knobs on it, there are things with better keyboards, but people still buying the MicroKORG because it's so flexible and it's so sort of almost bomb-proof, and it sounds pretty good. And to prove the point, I'll just play a little demo track I've made. It took a few minutes. It's got about 6 or 7 parts, all played by the MicroKORG. The only thing that isn't is the drums. I hope you'll agree that it sounds pretty good. It stands up pretty well to modern stuff if you're using it in the right way. But it's got so many different sound engines, there's lots of different types of sounds I was playing in there, and they're all accessed via this weird front panel that's only got a few little knobs on. So let's take a look first at exactly how you edit the sounds on this. Originally it was loaded with different categories of sound, so trance, techno, electronica, drum and bass and breaks, hip hop and vintage, retro, special effects and hits, and vocoder. I'll come up to the vocoder later. And we've got banks A and bank B. So let's load in sound A11, shall we? We'll go to bank A, so it changes to A, category 1, and then sound 1. When you first load a patch, these 5 knobs have sort of quick access to the cutoff, resonance, envelope attack, envelope release, and the tempo. It's got an arpeggio as well, so you can easily change the tempo without going in to edit it. So just have a little play with that. So the cutoff, resonance, and the envelope attack and release. So they're actually quite handy. It'd be nice to be able to assign different parameters to those, but I suppose that might make it a bit more confusing. A bit more confusing than it already is. So how do you access the different parameters? Well, we use these envelope select knobs here. So let's try the filter again. So we've got voice, pitch, oscillator 1, audio in, mixer, and filter. So we come down here and we see we've got filter, we've got the type, which is this knob, cutoff, that knob, resonance, filter, envelope, generator, and filter key track. And you might notice that I nearly read the wrong one there. And that's because it's quite difficult actually to see which line you're on because they're all so close together. But once you get to know it, it becomes much more easy. But it's not something you'd want to be doing live. Anyway, let's try and change the filter. So we'll go to the filter type. And we can change it from a 24 dB to a 12 dB. So big difference there. And then band pass through to high pass. So let's change the cutoff frequency, and we've got it on this knob here now. So getting a nice range of tones there just by playing with that filter. And also everything sounds really quite good and really meaty, doesn't it? And if that seems like a bit of a pain, which to be honest it is, if you're used to editing your synth and you're used to going really deep into it, this just takes ages. It does come with a free editor for the Mac and the PC. We open up the timbre for this patch, and here we can see all the different parameters that we can edit. We've got different types of waves, saw, square, triangle, sine, Vox wave, DWGS, I'll come to that in a minute. So as soon as you start looking at this, you start to realize how flexible it can be. It's got the 4 filter types, you can layer the sounds. It's got an arpeggiator, it's got effects, it's got a vocoder we've not looked at yet, and it's got all those sort of different options on the oscillators. So let's move on now and check out the oscillators. I've loaded in a really simple tone. Really nice fat square wave that is. Let's take the release off. And we can hear there's a delay. So we go to edit, select, delay. Look across, delay depth there. So let's turn that to 0. There we go. Nice and clean. So let's start looking at what the oscillators can do, shall we? So if we go to oscillator 1, oscillator 1 wave type. So we start here and we start with a saw. Nice. Then the square. Then triangle. Really nice for big thick subs that. And then we've got a sine as well, which is even more subby. So if we go back to sawtooth, second knob sort of does like wave folding. Let's go over to the square. As you'd expect, a bit of pulse width modulation, triangle. Again, all these lovely weird little tones. So quite tough. Sine. Wasn't expecting that. Wow. So all sorts of gruesome goodness in there, isn't there? Moving on to Vox then, we've got 127 different waveforms in there. It sounds like I'm playing with a filter, but I'm not. It sounds nothing like a sort of standard analog synth, nothing like a normal virtual analog would do either. Moving over to the digital waves. What we have here is 64 completely different waves in this wavetable. Some really nasty things in there, aren't there? So again, the more you look at this, the more flexible it becomes. And that's just oscillator 1. Let's look at oscillator 2 now as well. Oscillator 2 is a bit simpler. It's only got 3 wave shapes. It's got a saw, a square, and a triangle. But it does have ring mod and sync. So let's bring the ring mod in. Let's go up a couple of octaves. And detune that a bit. All that sort of lovely ring mod madness that you'd expect. And then let's add sync. What you expect, it's a bit gritty and a bit dirty, that, isn't it, as it goes through those frequencies. Not as smooth as something like the Pro 1, but very, very usable. And then it's got ring mod and sync. Using those digital waves and all that harshness and grittiness you can get. Massive sound in that, isn't it? Let's stick a beat on it. So it does have a habit of being able to do pretty much anything you want it to do. It's also got an arpeggiator on it, so let's take a look at that. And as with everything else on this, there's a bit of a theme running through, isn't there? It's really flexible, the arpeggiator. You've got different patterns. You've got up, down, alternate 1, 2, random, and trigger. Trigger means it'll just play the one note. But if we go to up, for example, so lots of nice things we can get out of this. And then we can change the gate length, which you can't do on loads of synths. And one really cool thing you can do on this that I don't know, I can't think of anything offhand that you can do it on. So you can change the number of steps. And you can turn the steps on and off. So it's like a basic sequencer. Put a bit of swing in there as well. So you can do all sorts of stuff. I'm not showing it to its best there. There's more intelligent things you can do with it. But really, again, really super flexible. And then the final thing to show you on this is the vocoder. So it comes supplied with its own microphone, and I will put this little foam top on it. I don't know why they don't supply the foam top on them, because it makes a massive difference to the sound. Anyway, we click this all the way over to vocoder. So you don't have to be able to sing to put vocals on your tracks, which is always useful. And it comes with 16 programs under vocoder. So we've got 8 in A and 8 in B. Let's try another. A bit crisper, a bit cleaner. Nice that though, isn't it? It's really good quality. You know, coming out of this little machine. I'm constantly, I don't know why I'm constantly amazed by it, but it's because I've not used it for a few years. It's been sort of sitting on a shelf, but it's brilliant, isn't it? Loads of useful bits in there, and you can really go in and edit this. You might have been wondering what all these green labels are, and these are all the different things you can actually change on the vocoder. It's probably easier to show you how many bits there are using the editor. You've got mono, poly and unison mode. You've got the 8 different filters, which are effectively an EQ for the voice, and LFOs as well. So again, you can dig really deep into this synth if you want to, even though it's only got these sort of 5 or 6 knobs on the front. So taking that into account, is it a synth for you? I know I keep on talking about how brilliant this synth is, but if you enjoy programming and you like going deep diving on your editing, it's not the synth for you, I don't think. The Matrix is just too hard. Although it works and you can get to everything, it just gets a bit confusing every now and then, and it's tiring on your eyes, sort of trying to work out where you're going from left to right. And even the editor's a bit clunky, and I can't think of any other computer program I used that was made 18 years ago. That's how old it is. But if you do enjoy playing live, it's an absolute brilliant little thing. It's small, it's bomb-proof, you know, you can drop it and it still seems to work, and it can pretty much recreate any sound you want. Obviously it can't do samples, but for synth sounds, it's excellent, and you don't have to make the sounds as perfect as they are in the studio. Studio monitors, you can hear every sort of little detail in the sound, but when you're playing live through a PA, it just doesn't matter, and you can get the basis of almost everything using this. Well, if you enjoyed that, don't forget you can watch it whenever you like on Clubbing TV's YouTube channel on our From the Studio playlist. And if you put something in the comments there, I'll try and answer them if I can. And if you do enjoy programming your synths, maybe check out my Starsky Carr YouTube channel, or maybe even go to my Patreon page where I've got over 6 hours of tutorials on how to program synths in particular, which has really helped with this sort of stuff. Anyway, I'll see you in the next episode of From the Studio.